I'm gonna start that again. Hello to everybody and anybody that's watching this, and welcome back. I am indeed back a week later, not 2 years later. Today I'd like to talk to you about a book that I read recently that really means a lot to me. It's very powerful and incredibly beautiful, and the way it's written is just so well done. Now that doesn't say much, but I'll get into that in a little bit. The book I'm talking about is Julian by Fleur Pierets. Now I'm always fascinated when a book can really capture me from the first page, and when I have difficulty putting it down. That's not easy to do as much anymore the more and more I read, but this is a book that really I had so much difficulty putting down when I had to get to work or when I had to, do dishes or anything. And even though the story is both sad and beautiful, the writing itself was just really what got me into it. I was so curious to read further, even though I knew what was going to happen, but the way that the author has written this is just beautiful. Now, before I get into what the book is about specifically, I wanted to let you know how I got this book. I wanted it for a really long time already, but my girlfriend actually got it for me for St. Nicholas last year. So it's the first book that I got from her, which now that I've read it and have had time to think about it actually means all the more to me. So the book Julian is about the love story between Fleur Pierets and Julian Bohm. They were a couple and an artistic duo for 7 years. Now I had actually heard about them before I read the book, but I didn't really dive into their story further. My girlfriend on the other hand did and has been a fan of theirs for years. They had created multiple artistic projects already. They had a magazine called Et Alors, I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, in which they voiced queer perspective, stories, people. So they really had this kind of voice in the queer community, and an artistic voice, really. So at one point they decided that instead of commenting on the fact that there are so many countries in which same-sex marriage isn't allowed, they decided to celebrate the countries in which that is. So they decided to call this Project 22 because at the time of the conception of this project, there were 22 countries in which same-sex couples were allowed to get married, and in order to celebrate them, they decided to get married in these 22 countries. Now, the project would always be called 22, even if more countries were to change their regulations or change their laws in the future of the project, but they were just gonna get started. And so their project actually got a lot of media attention all over the world. I'm having so much difficulty describing this book because I can tell that it's still very emotional to me. After the fourth marriage, Julian was diagnosed with several brain tumors, and she died 6 weeks after her diagnosis. What's so beautifully done in the book is that it really takes you from moment to moment, and when you're reading about their love story from before the project and before Julian's death, Fleur is really able to show us how their love was and how they worked together and the beautiful things they experienced. And she also says something along the lines of, in those 7 years that they lived for 50 years. So they did everything they wanted, or anything that inspired them, really. When they wanted to move to Spain, they moved to Spain. And just their love story in those 7 years is so inspirational. Also the way they looked at life, the way they looked at each other, and the way they looked at love. It's just beautiful and beautifully written, and despite the tragic ending, I think their love story alone is so inspirational and could inspire so many people. What's also really beautifully done within the story is that not only do we learn about this love story and the tragedy of Fleur and Julian, we also learn about actually quite a few, I don't know how many artists and writers from across the centuries and countries that we don't normally learn about. But she tells us how these artists would respond to the death of their lover, or how they were situated in history and how this impacted them. And I think that's actually really great, that not only is this book such a beautiful memoir and about their own story, but also it created a possibility to educate the readers of other queer couples and other queer tragedies and other queer I can't speak anymore. And other queer tragedies throughout history that we don't normally learn about. So I was just talking to my girlfriend about this book the other day, and she has actually read the first half, but she's not much of a reader, so she put it down after our holiday and wants to pick it up again during our next. But she was also saying what I was saying before, how it's so important to note also for ourselves how inspirational their love story was while they were both alive, and how they looked at life and how we really can learn from that, also individually but also as a couple, how we really want to grab all of the opportunities that are presented to us and really just be in the moment and enjoy every day. And that's something that I personally do tend to struggle with, just enjoying the moment that I'm living in and enjoying the day that I'm living. But I think this book was actually a really great motivation for me to try and actively learn to do that better. What I think is also important to note is that the writing is really accessible for many readers. As far as I'm aware, there's only this Dutch edition, and I couldn't find anywhere online if there will be an English translation or in other languages. I really hope so, because as you can tell, I'm clearly like very overwhelmed and just inspired by this story, and I think it should be read by more people and make it more accessible to other countries. And they were and are really international, so I kind of hope that this will still happen. I posted that I read this book on my Instagram, and the author Fleur Pierets was so kind to see that, and we had a little bit of an interaction on Instagram as well, and I thought that was just so wonderful, and that actually meant a lot to me because she is so vulnerable within this book, and she opens up so much, and it makes you really, as a reader, feel like you understand part of her story. And obviously no one understands it better than she does, but you really feel connected to her, and I think that's so special. And then to have this interaction online with her was really special to me and to my girlfriend as well, who, like I said, has been a fan for years. So just in case you were watching this, we really appreciate it, and we really value the fact that you wrote down this story and that you helped and are helping put queer stories into the world and just exposing other people to that as well. So thank you. I will definitely be lending this book to my mom soon, who really wanted to read it as well. Obviously my girlfriend will finish reading the book. My dog also loves books, we discovered, and he likes to devour them in a different way than I do, and he unfortunately stuck his teeth into the book. But that doesn't change the content of the book, of course. I'm just super grateful that this book was written and that this story was shared. And I really think it's incredible how the author continues to share this story. I can only imagine what that's like to go through again and again. I've read interviews with her, and she's just such an inspiration. And I feel like I've said inspired or inspiring or inspiration so much in this video, but that's really just how I feel about this. I hope that people that do speak Dutch are able to pick up a copy of this book. If you know me personally, just let me know, and you can of course borrow it as well if you don't have the funds to get a book for yourself. But I just think it's important that you somehow learn about at least their story, if not read this book. That's it for now. That's it for today. I hope to be back soon, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, that you enjoyed another book review from me. And if you do, please let me know down below, and if there's certain books you'd like me to discuss, also do let me know, because I don't know, maybe there's something you want to see. There might also not be, and you might just be enjoying these videos, which is also fine, but I thought it was worth putting out there anyway. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go. Maybe you're not gonna read this book, but let's at least try to take this one thing from this book to live every day fully and enjoy every day that we are given on this earth with the people that we love. Yeah. Alright. Have a lovely day, evening, morning, wherever you are, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.